Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guests today are from the National Theater of the Deaf. They'll be here. We have our executive director and an actor joining us. So stay with us. We'll be back. Welcome both of you to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here. Thank you.
Betty, let's start with you as executive director, maybe sort of an overall description of what the National Theater of the Deaf is and what your purpose is.
The National Theater of the Deaf is a performing, touring theater company comprised of deaf and hearing actors performing in ensemble style, and we tour all over the country. This is our 45th year, and we have toured all 50 states. And we've been to all 7 continents.
Wow.
Yeah, we did a workshop in Antarctica.
No, are you kidding? Was there a few penguins there watching that show?
Yeah, I'm sure there were. I wasn't with the company.
Okay.
I've been with them for 45 years, but I've been with them for a long time. But part of our mission is to perform world literature in the highest quality, and also to seek, train, and employ deaf artists. And we've done a good job at that because I think almost every deaf actor that is known publicly has come through the National Theater of the Deaf. Linda Bove from Sesame Street, who was the librarian, Marlee Maitland from the movie, Bernard Bragg. There's so many people who have worked with us throughout the years.
Now, where exactly are you centrally located? Where are your facilities? I know you travel around.
We travel around. We're home based in Connecticut.
Okay.
We're born and bred here.
Okay.
And we started at the O'Neill Theater Center in 1967, and then we moved our headquarters to other locations. But now our headquarters are back at the O'Neill Theater Center, and we also have an office in West Hartford.
Now, it's funny you mentioned the O'Neill because that's a place where a lot of prominent actors have come through for their trade as well. So it's interesting and amazing how people sort of adopt that place, as a place that they will come back to regardless of, how successful they become. Don't you both think? Yeah.
It's a wonderful facility for creative imaginations, work, and theater. You live, eat, breathe theater there, and the creative atmosphere, it can't be beat.
Now, Joey?
Yeah, and Joey says it's a different kind of atmosphere there. I started working for the National Theater of the Deaf last year, and I came to the O'Neill Theater Center, and it's just amazing the feeling there. The NTD first was founded there. And to get that sense of professionalism and eagerness to work, roll up your sleeves, perform, and do it.
Now, did you want to be an actor always? Is that something that's sort of a passion for you?
Yeah, you can say that. I grew up with a hearing family, and I love to get attention, do a little theater, get people to look at me, see me, that kind of thing. So I would say my passion is for theatrical fun, and that sort of moved into, in high school, I was involved in plays. In college, I was totally immersed, and I wanted to become an actor. Yes, that was my profession.
Now, we were talking off the air, and not only actor, but there's a lot of other tasks that need to be performed. You're not just in front of the stage, in front of the people. You're doing a lot of things behind the scenes as well, correct?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I've got a background in acting, also in directing, set design, carpentry, but for the National Theater of the Deaf, we all do lots of things together behind the scenes, not just acting, but also we provide workshops for youth, creative sign language workshops, or theatrical workshops of different kinds, a large variety, and it depends on ages or their background or the school or what the intention of the workshop that they want. So we do a lot of workshops. We provide that. We meet and work with the kids, and we work all over the country and travel.
Yeah, and get rave reviews from what I understand too. Lots of encores, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, Joey has his own fan club, I think.
That's great.
The kids just follow him. Yeah, we get letters from the kids too. They keep sending us things. It's really nice. It really touches me, and as inspiration as well.
I want to get into more of the American Sign Language that goes along with the acting and the performances too. So can you talk about that a little bit? Both of you, actually.
Well, we have some examples. Some people, well, it's like spoken language. There's one level that's conversational every day, and this is another level that's for theater or performance. And we integrate, we use sign language as our artistic medium on stage. We combine voice and signing, so everything you is signed, you hear as well. So we like to say you see and hear every word. We tell jokes, we have puns, we prepared some ABC stories using hand shapes to tell a story. So show some examples of what we were talking about before. Great. Like for numbers, that's the shape for number 1. And this is a story that we do in one of our performances. It's based on the hand shape, this, 1. So for example, one of our performances we do morning routine. So this is 1. That would be sleeping. Alarm clock. Walking to the mirror. All right, I think you got that.
There's actually a comical element to it.
Oh, yeah. And then walks away. All right,
Yeah,
so that's using just one hand shape. We can tell a complete story using the visual qualities of the language, and we stretch.
I mean, sometimes it seems like almost over-exaggerate certain things, so people really get the gist of what you're talking about, and maybe get a little chuckle out of it too.
Well, it depends if we're working on humor. If
Right.
we want you to laugh, and we can also
Right.
make you cry.
Right.
But it's interesting too, because people say, well, can you tell jokes? And we have puns, and there's a couple of them that, some of your favorite, one of my favorite, I want to show, because these are jokes. These are not real signs.
Okay.
These are jokes. Okay. For example, see if you can guess this one. This is a sign for turtle.
Okay.
All right. Now see if you can guess what this pun is.
Turtle is running? No?
No, no. Snapping turtle.
Oh, snapping turtle. I gotcha. Gotcha.
So you got snapping and turtle. So we
Gotcha.
combine that with the sign for the
I
joke.
see.
And one of her favorites,
Okay.
this one. This is a sign for milk.
Okay.
Now see if you can guess this. Can you guess that?
Milking, and you're going across.
Oh, you're pretty close.
Am I?
Yeah, not too bad. All right. The answer is pasteurized milk. So it's like past your eyes.
Pasteurized. So it's a play on word.
It's a play on word.
Yeah,
It's a pun. Yeah.
I
so it's a
gotcha.
joke. So
I gotcha.
yeah.
I like it.
That's always the favorite with our audiences too. It's very funny.
Now, when people are watching the show, I assume both deaf people and hearing people watch the show.
Yes.
And there's the sign. Is there also spoken word at the show as well?
Yes, we have hearing actors and
Okay.
deaf actors, and it's ensemble.
Okay.
So it's not like interpreters off to the side.
Okay.
They're inclusive in the action. Everything happens together. So you suspend, if you're a hearing person, you suspend the disbelief that I'm not going to understand sign language, because you see it and you hear
Right.
it at the same time, so you don't feel like you're missing anything.
Are there any performances where music is involved, even for at this Theater of the Deaf? Is it necessary, or is it even not necessary? Like you were saying, Theater of the Mind, is it even necessary to have music or some kind of sound effects?
We're not opposed to having music. Many deaf people like music. Joey's,
Yeah.
you're crazy about music, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it depends on the individual person. For example, my mom loved musicals. My dad's hated them. My mom and dad were deaf. So it depends. But for us, it's a component of the show. It belongs there.
Right.
So
That's a good point. If it's a musical, it would belong there.
It would belong there, yeah. Some people would argue to say that American Sign Language is always music for them, so it's visual music. it's music for your eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk more about sign language in general. Some people learn it at an early age. How difficult is it, and is it something that can be picked up fairly quickly?
Well, I think it depends on the teacher.
Good teachers.
And the student, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Some people pick it up very quickly, and some people are slow at learning it. It depends on how much they really practice it. I've noticed that people have a movement or a visual background tend to pick it up a little quicker than people who don't.
What do you do when someone speaks a different language? Is sign, the word is different depending on the language, and how do you cross that barrier?
I mean, if I went to a different country and
Yeah.
I signed, would I? Oh, yeah, definitely. Every country, well, most countries have their own sign language. Because of the educational system here for the deaf population, we tend to get a lot of foreigners coming over, so they bring back American Sign Language. Because I think, for example, India uses ASL more than British Sign Language. British Sign Language and American Sign Language are completely different
Well,
languages.
just like our accents are different for speaking.
Well, it's more than just accent. It's a completely different language.
Wow.
Yeah,
No kidding.
ours comes from France.
Oh.
Because the British, when in our history, when Thomas Gallaudet went over to get some educational philosophies on working with deaf children, England rejected him, so he went to France.
No kidding.
And so
Good
he
history
brought
lesson
over,
there.
brought over a Frenchman. And here in Connecticut was the first place in the New World where education started for the deaf.
Wow, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Let's take a break and we'll come back. Is there a website you can give out so that people can learn more?
Oh yes, our website and our performance calendar is on www.ntd.org.
We'll put a graphic up on the screen too. Betty Beekman, the executive director, and Joey Caverly, an actor for the National Theater of the Deaf. We'll take a break and come back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guests today are from the National Theater of the Deaf. Joey Caverly is an actor, and Betty Beekman's the executive director. Before we continue on, I know that there's aside from some of your many performances, there's a Christmas performance coming up, and you've got a little excerpt that you'd like to perform for us.
Yes, we're going to be at the Ivoryton Playhouse. We open on December 6th. And we close on December 16th. We'll be running for those 2 weekends, about 10 performances. So their website would have information on tickets and so forth for the Ivoryton Playhouse. And this is an excerpt from Transport System Wales by Dylan Thomas.
Okay.
All right. Years and years and years ago, when I was a boy, when there were wolves in Wales, and birds the color of red flannel petticoats whisked past the harp-shaped hills. Before the motor car, before the wheel, when we rode the daft and happy hills bareback. It snowed and it snowed. But that was not the same snow. Our snow was not only shaken from whitewash buckets down the sky, it came shawling out of the ground and swam and drifted out of the arms and hands and bodies of the trees. Snow grew overnight on the roofs of the houses.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Now, is that a way to clap?
You
just
can,
kinda
but
go
we
like
do
that?
this.
You
It's
can
more
do that?
visual.
Okay,
Visual
I gotcha.
Yes, yes.
Now here's a question for you,
And
Joey.
I'm not an actor, so
I was gonna ask you
apologize
that.
to all the actors.
I was going to ask you
And
that.
poor Joey has a woman's voice.
But
so,
you were reading, and
I'm
you
stuck with
help
it.
him read, you learn his lines, right? You may not be an actor, but you help him learn his lines.
Well, no, he learns his own lines. I don't help him learn his lines.
Well,
But we
Joey-
did work on developing the piece.
So Joey, studying for a script, any different for you than just your a hearing actor? Is it what's different about it for you? Learning your role, your lines.
Well, I'd say the biggest difference between me learning lines and a hearing actor learning lines is that with a hearing actor, really they have to develop the character through the use of voice. They develop, the inflection, the character variety, and the vocal qualities. But I don't have a voice, but I do that with my hands.
Right.
So it's different styles for different characters, abstract or more concurrent. But other than that, knowing body movements, breathing, it's similar.
But you can be a physical actor too, and do things that a hearing actor can do physically, not just with your hands for the purposes of sign, but just as a way of maybe that is called for in a scene to do something physically.
What an extra challenge for the deaf actors is that they're working from English and they have to put it into a different language, which is American Sign Language,
Right.
which has a different grammar and syntax and
Tone,
order.
yeah.
And sometimes we have to play with both to make them fit visually and as well as orally. One interesting advantage to sign language that you can't do with spoken word is as soon as you speak it, the word is gone.
Right.
But if I want to say tree in sign language, it's there for as long as I want. I can
Right.
talk about the leaves,
Right.
and I can talk about chopping it down or all sorts of descriptives. But I can hold on to the word as long as I want to, and I can add layers and colors and depth that
That's
you can't
right.
do in vocal
When you were doing
language.
snow before, what is snow again? Snow. You can do this for as long as you want, but when I just say snow, it's over. You know what I mean?
Right. So American Sign Language already has its own beauty. One thing wonderful about American Sign Language, if you see two deaf people have a conversation, you'll notice that their body language is very expressive, quite physical. It has that natural actor tendencies built in.
Right.
It's built into the language. So on stage, we amplify that energy. We expand upon it more. More beautiful art, poetry within signs.
I wonder if you get tired more so than a hearing actor, just because you have to mentally and physically work harder, I think, right?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but yeah, for me, I tend to, yes.
So tell me about the rigors of the tour. How often are you on the road? When do you get a break? How often do you get back home? And how far do you travel?
It depends on the tour.
Yeah.
Sometimes I send them to Taiwan. Sometimes
So this
I
is all
send
you're
them,
doing, huh?
It's my doing. Sometimes I send them to Southington. I mean,
Okay, it's a little quicker
It
there,
depends. We tour everywhere, and we try to target areas. They just came back from Alabama. About a 6-day trip. 3 days to get there, do the show, and 3 days back. Yeah. So they're touring everywhere. We're doing. It depends on where the tour takes us. Last spring we were in the Midwest. The year before we were out west more, Texas, Louisiana, so forth. So it depends. It depends on who wants us. Sometimes we fly out. Sometimes we drive out.
Now, during the course of your travels, do you get a lot of curiosity from people wanting to ask questions above and beyond your performance on stage, but just about your life and your lifestyle and just how you go about day-to-day activities? They just want to know?
Oh, yeah. For the past year or so, we've been performing at schools, most of the time at elementary schools. And the kids, they're young, maybe the first time they've ever met a deaf person. So at the end of the show, we do meet with them, with the audience, and so they'll just come and ask us all kinds of questions. What's it like to be deaf? what is it? Can you talk? Can you hear? Can you? All sorts of questions, so the kids have curiosity about that. So it's nice to have that exposure to them, to give the show at the same time, educate them about deaf culture. And that is part of our mission.
Yeah.
To provide the linkages between the deaf community and the hearing community. And you never know what fallout comes. We educate through our art.
Right.
We educate through entertainment, and we enlighten.
But it's not just, like you said, it's not just performance. You know, as much as possible, the word getting out so that people can be educated and learn about it, always a plus, and that's what you want, actually.
Well, I think through the work of the National Theatre of the Deaf and the performances they've done, many theater goers are socially minded. And
right.
with our exposure, they may have come the first time out of pity and then realize that, wow, this was good, solid entertainment, good art form, and realize that deaf people can. And I think we've done much to support the American Disabilities Act. We've done a lot to help with closed captioning, of getting the word out there, interpreter as a profession, as opposed to just being you know, good enough, neighbor helping. So we've done a lot to build the recognition and the support and the pride of the deaf community.
Is there anything, you talked about the advancement of certain things like closed caption and things of that sort. Is there anything that you still might feel like a little frustrated on that you think needs more movement in the right direction? Off the air, we talked about closed captioning.
Well, right now there's a controversy about the use of online captioning. Like today with technology, we have more access to TV shows and movies, technology, Hulu and YouTube, so forth. Netflix, for example. People want to see, deaf people want to watch, but there's not closed captioning always, so that is a frustration. And there's a lot of fighting for that. Well, it's almost like the work is not as hard as it used to be when we first started.
Because of technology and
Because of
advancement?
technology, and people are more aware. I mean, 50 years ago, somebody signing on the street, people would back away not knowing what was going on. They'd be afraid of it. Not always, but more people are familiar with it. And it's a very popular language, the third most used language in the United States. But often we're back to ground one with each new generation, so we have to make sure that we keep it going. You know, sometimes a deaf child is mainstreamed. Deaf children are mostly born to hearing parents. Often people don't know that, so very often a deaf child may never have seen a deaf adult, and so when our company comes in and they see deaf adults, they have role models. And we're also role models for the other children.
Right.
And it teaches them a lot about what they think is handicap, which I call handy-can, because there's no cap on our capabilities.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the technology, Joey, because you know, it's turning more and more to online entertainment, viewing of, like you said, Netflix and YouTube. So, you know, you could argue that newspapers and TV in general will eventually go by the wayside, and we'll all be watching stuff online. So doesn't it make more sense that, you know, the availability of not only closed captioning, but anything that can help the deaf, that's where we're all watching our content at now, is online and on the internet.
That's a good question. For me, I think it's important that we continue to expose the general population about deaf people. I can tell you a lot of percentage of hearing people in the United States are not very knowledgeable about what are deaf people, what does that mean. We meet, we educate them just through exposure. We show them our capabilities instead of our inabilities, and by that exposure, later on that influences decisions later on about more accessibility for deaf people.
We are just about out of time, so I want to give you guys the opportunity to mention the website again, because it'll have a listing of all the upcoming performances, where you can watch you guys perform, and also I would imagine some information about learning more in general about the National Theatre of the Deaf. So the website again?
www.ntd.org.
Betty Beekman's the executive director, and Joey Caverly is one of the actors for the National Theater of the Deaf. Thanks so much for both of you to come on the show today. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time. Take care.